On May 23, 2024, the Israeli Defense Forces launched a significant military operation into the Gaza Strip, swiftly taking control of the Philadelphi corridor. This narrow strip of land running along the Egypt-Gaza border holds immense strategic importance, making it a focal point of conflict for decades. The IDF's stated objective for this operation was to eliminate Hamas tunnels and weapons caches, citing security concerns for Israeli citizens living near the Gaza border. The operation, met with immediate international condemnation, has raised concerns about a new cycle of violence in the already volatile region. The speed and scale of the IDF's incursion, reminiscent of previous conflicts in Gaza, have left many wondering about the long-term objectives and the potential for a wider escalation. The international community has called for restraint and a return to dialogue, but with tensions running high, the situation remains highly unpredictable. The Philadelphi corridor, often described as a land bridge, has been a flashpoint in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict since Israel's disengagement from Gaza in 2005. Control of this corridor is crucial for both Israel and Egypt, impacting security, trade, and the overall dynamics of the region. The recent Israeli operation has once again brought this volatile piece of land into the spotlight, raising questions about the future of Gaza and the prospects for peace in the Middle East. The Philadelphi corridor's history is deeply entwined with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. After the 1967 Six-Day War, Israel occupied the Gaza Strip and controlled the corridor, using it as a buffer zone with Egypt. This control continued even after the 1979 Israel-Egypt peace treaty, with Israel retaining control over Gaza's borders and access points. This land bridge became a lifeline for Gaza, facilitating trade and movement of people. However, the corridor also became a conduit for smuggling, with weapons and goods flowing into Gaza, fueling tensions with Israel. Israel's 2005 withdrawal from Gaza, while intended to ease tensions, created a security vacuum. Hamas's subsequent takeover of Gaza further complicated the situation, leading to Israel imposing a blockade on the Strip. The Philadelphia corridor became a focal point of this blockade, with Israel tightly controlling movement in and out of Gaza. This control, while aimed at preventing Hamas from strengthening its military capabilities, has had a devastating impact on Gaza's economy and the daily lives of its residents. The recent Israeli operation, by further tightening the grip on the corridor, is likely to exacerbate the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Egypt, a key player in the region and a signatory to the peace treaty with Israel, has expressed deep concern over the operation in the Philadelphia corridor. The treaty, a cornerstone of regional stability for over 4 decades, hinges on maintaining security and open communication between the two countries. The recent escalation in Gaza threatens to undermine this delicate balance. Egypt has played a crucial role in mediating between Israel and Hamas, facilitating ceasefires and attempting to revive the stalled peace process. The current situation puts Egypt in a difficult position, as it seeks to balance its commitment to the peace treaty with its concerns over the humanitarian situation in Gaza and its role as a mediator in the conflict. The international community has also expressed alarm at the escalating violence and its potential impact on the already fragile peace in the region. The United States, a staunch ally of Israel, has called for restraint and a return to dialogue, emphasizing the need for a negotiated solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The European Union has echoed these concerns, urging all parties to de-escalate the situation and work towards a lasting ceasefire. Section 4, Voices from Gaza. The humanitarian situation in Gaza, already dire before the recent escalation, has deteriorated rapidly. The Strip, home to over 2 million Palestinians, has been under Israeli blockade for over 17 years, severely impacting its economy and infrastructure. The recent operation has further restricted the flow of essential goods and services, exacerbating the humanitarian crisis. Hospitals in Gaza, already overwhelmed with patients before the operation, are now struggling to cope with the influx of casualties. The lack of essential medical supplies and equipment is compounding the crisis, raising fears of a public health emergency. The United Nations has issued urgent appeals for humanitarian aid, warning of a dire situation unfolding in Gaza. The people of Gaza, already grappling with poverty, unemployment, and limited access to basic necessities, are bearing the brunt of this latest escalation. The constant fear of violence, coupled with the deteriorating humanitarian situation, has created a sense of despair and hopelessness among the population, particularly the youth. International human rights organizations have criticized the impact of the blockade and the recent operation on civilians, calling for an end to the violence and a sustainable solution to the conflict. And Section 5, a world watching. The international community's response to the situation in Gaza has been swift and largely condemnatory. The United Nations Security Council held an emergency meeting to discuss the crisis, with many member states expressing grave concerns over the escalating violence and its impact on civilians. The UN Secretary-General has called for an immediate ceasefire and a return to dialogue, emphasizing the need for a political solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The Arab League has also condemned Israel's actions in Gaza, calling for an end to the blockade and a resumption of peace talks. The organization has urged the international community to take concrete steps to protect Palestinian civilians and hold Israel accountable for its actions. The Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, has called for an emergency meeting to discuss the situation, reflecting the growing international concern over the crisis. International human rights organizations have documented numerous violations of international law in the context of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, including the blockade of Gaza and the use of excessive force against civilians. These organizations have called for an end to the impunity enjoyed by Israel for its actions and for the international community to uphold its responsibility to protect Palestinian civilians. Section 6. What next? The future of the Philadelphi corridor and the Gaza Strip hangs in the balance. The recent Israeli operation, while achieving its immediate military objectives, has further inflamed tensions and deepened the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. The potential for a wider escalation remains high, threatening to engulf the region in a new cycle of violence. A sustainable solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, while elusive, remains the only path to lasting peace and security in the region. This requires a commitment from all parties to engage in meaningful dialogue, address the root causes of the conflict, and work towards a just and equitable resolution. The international community has a crucial role to play in facilitating this process, providing humanitarian assistance and holding all parties accountable for their actions. The recent escalation in Gaza serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of peace in the region and the urgent need for a renewed international effort to break the cycle of violence and achieve a lasting solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The future of the Philadelphi corridor, like the future of the entire region, depends on the choices made today.